Hey there, Wargamers, and welcome to today's X-Wing Wednesday video. Today we're going to be talking about a Attani Mindlink build that I've been working on. And before we get started, I'd like to encourage you guys to like and subscribe, help me grow this channel. I really appreciate all the support. So, with that being said, let's jump right in and discuss this ship build. First and foremost, I do get paid to paint, so I want to do a quick little, fast showcase. This is my Cato Lycos from my build here, so I did paint that. If you want something like that painted for you, let me know. I have a website and you can submit a quote. My Y-Wings, I haven't even done one yet. I'm working on another Hawk. This one's not finished. Guy at the shop said, made a comment when this died one time and said, oh, if it was black, you could say Black Hawk down. Because it's an HWK Hawk, and so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna make a black painted Hawk, and then if you shoot it, I could say Black Hawk down. Hopefully that doesn't offend anybody, but I think it's kind of funny because the movie title. The last one, there's no ship card that looks like this, but I went with a custom one. So it's got the Mandalorian symbol on it, the teeth, kind of like a warthog, A10 warthog, and the other Mandalorian symbol there. So I thought it looked cool. And again, you can check out my website and request a quote if you want something painted. So now, let's get into the ship build now that I've got the obligatory showcase. So the model's done. First and foremost, this is a 100 point on the dot ship build, and it is relying heavily on the Attani Mindlink. I played it a little bit, and I'm still learning. I'm not perfect at it, but it requires a lot of synergy, and things have to go well, and you have to fly well, or it can slowly be picked apart. Anything that synergizes when you, list-wise, anytime you lose a portion of the ships that help the list synergize, it becomes weaker and weaker. So you have to keep that in mind when you approach this and potentially play with this list. So let's talk about some pilots. The first pilot from this list is Cato Lycos here, comes in at 15 points. His ability says, at the start of the combat phase, you may remove one focus or evade token from another friendly ship at range 1 to 2 and assign it to yourself. Now, he's got Attani Mindlink attached to him, and Attani Mindlink reads, Scum only, elite pilot talent 1 point. Each time you are assigned a focus or stress token, each other friendly ship with the Attani Mindlink must also be assigned the same type of token if it does not already have one. Lycos is here as the cheap third man. Only 3 of these have the Mindlink. He's the cheap third one, and he can easily go very early on in the turn because he's the first ship or second ship to go on my team, first one with Mindlink. He goes first, he takes an action and focuses himself and in turn the other 2 ships with Mindlink. Because those 2 ships would be going after him, they can then go and they can take a focus or a target lock action of their own. So action economy. If he has to go first and do a red maneuver, he would then force the other 2 ships to take a stress, but then if you plan ahead and they take a green, they can then clear the stress, then they can take an action token and bounce action tokens across the other ships as well. The whole point of this build is to bounce action tokens across all 3 and hopefully always keep 2 action tokens on Cavil as much as possible. It doesn't always work, but that's the point. The other benefit is if something comes up and you bump or you can't take actions or something bad happens, so long as Cato is within range 1 to 2 of a friendly ship who was able to get a focus token in some way, he can steal the focus, and the way his ability reads is he assigns the focus to himself, and then because of Attani Mindlink, because he was assigned to focus, all other ships without at least 1 focus are now assigned to focus. The cool thing that Cato can do is, let's say that Cato, Cavil, and Palab here, all have a focus token, start of the combat phase. Cato steals Torkel's 1 focus, if that's what it is. He assigns it to himself, so now he has 2. Palab has 0, and because of Attani Mindlink, Palab gets assigned to focus because he has 0. So it's a kind of way to shift a focus and then gain a focus and basically get 2 on Cato. Having 2 focus on Cato that way makes your opponent less likely to shoot him, but also helps Cato, survive 1 shot, and then hopefully have focus to return fire himself. This doesn't always happen though, because generally I go with Cato first. He takes a focus action, so Cavil and Palab get a free focus. Then Palab goes and he's got a second focus, and then Cavil goes and he's got a second focus. So they're usually sitting on 2 and 2. And if Cato steals one, from one of them and they still have one focus left, they don't get one from Attani Mindlink. Slightly convoluted, but it is pretty cool when it works. We're going to skip over Cavil. We're going to talk about him last because he's my favorite ship, and I had these in the wrong order. Now, for the cheapest ship in the list here, we have Torkel. And Torkel's coming in at 19 points, and he reads, at the end of the activation phase, choose one enemy ship at range 1 to 2. Until the end of the combat phase, treat that ship's pilot skill as 0. This is not bad. I like it because it screws with your opponent's aces. You know, somebody rolls up in with pilot skill 11 or something like that, or Sunterfell, you can lower them to pilot skill 0 and let your other ships be able to shoot at them. Now, for his gear card, we are running... yeah, so we're running a blaster turret. It's 4 points, and it reads, spend 1 focus token to perform this attack against 1 ship, even a ship outside your firing arc. This is good because you can use Torkel as a blocker. He can fly forward. He can always shoot this if they're at range 1 to 2. If they're at range 1 to 2, he is also going to be using his ability to lower pilot skills to 0. So it balances out really well. In the past, I have tinkered with using him with twin laser turret, which is always a good option when I had the points. The problem is, if you run too many twin laser turrets and you can't stop your opponent from getting into range 1, you're in trouble. So at least this gives you some ability to fire dice at them, and if they're in range 1 to 2, you know, you're bouncing off some of your cool abilities. Now, flying in close proximity to Torkel is Plab here, and Plab comes in at 20 points, and his ability reads, at the start of the combat phase, you may remove 1 focus or evade token from an enemy ship at range 1 to 2 and assign it to yourself. So now we're looking at Kato, who can take friendly focus. So let's say Plab takes a focus or an evade from an enemy. He can then chain that over to Kato. And you've also got Torkel, who at range 1 to 2 can lower an enemy ship to pilot skill 0. So range 1 to 2 is, specifically you can keep them at range 2. It's the sweet spot for this list because you get all your cool abilities going and you still get the fire with your twin laser turrets. Now for upgrades, which we already mentioned here, we've got the Attani Mindlink, which is a given, twin laser turret, which is obvious. The good thing about this build is that if you're able to perform it properly, for Plab here, he's sitting on 2 focus. Twin laser turret is 2 shots. So he's got a focus for both attacks, which is really nice. Now we have Zuckuss, and I think this is a pretty clutch crew card on him for 1 point. If you had the points, Dingar is really good with a twin laser turret. The problem is you don't have points with this particular build. So going on with Zuckuss here, 1 point. He reads, when attacking, you may receive any number of stress tokens to choose an equal number of defense dice. The defender must re-roll those dice. Now with Plab, now I'm not sure if they have FAQ'd this or ratted it yet. It says you may receive any, and Attani Mindlink says each time you are assigned. I don't know if there's a difference between receive and assign. I've been running it as there is because they're pretty particular with their terminology. I could totally see if they come back and they change that, but currently I'm assuming that assign and receive are 2 different things for terminology for the game. Fantasy Flight's pretty specific. So when he shoots with the twin laser turret, you know, he can force people to re-roll dice. If you are forced to take on more stress than he can clear the following turn, you know, you take on more than 1, he's still going to be getting at least 1 focus from friendly ships because, you know, Kato or Cavil, so long as one of them is able to take a focus action, Plab is getting at least 1 focus, which means on his twin laser turret he's got at least something for defense. That's also assuming he doesn't steal a focus or an evade from your opponent, which then gives him more things to use against them. What's going to happen with Plab is when opponents get up close and they realize what he's going to do, it's going to force them to start taking target locks because they're not going to want to take focus or evades next to Plab because he's going to steal whatever's beneficial for him. So it really upsets what they do. The final piece of this build, and I wouldn't say he is the tip of the spear, but more the Barrett 50 cal sitting in the background here, is Cavil. And Cavil is, for all intents and purposes, and no other way to put it, a badass. He really is. Now, normally I like to run Veteran Instincts on Cavil. We're not. We're running Attani Mindlink, which I will explain the build on him and why it's so good after we get through what he does. Now, his pilot ability reads, when attacking a ship outside your firing arc, roll 1 additional attack die. You never want to fly straight at somebody if you can help it with Cavil, and with a twin laser turret, if you can keep them in your side or rear, outside your front firing arc, he's rolling 4 dice instead of 3. Now granted, that means that people running auto thrusters on interceptors or T-70s, they get their auto thrusters, you know, but you have 4 tack dice, so good odds of getting stuff through. Now with Attani Mindlink, in best case scenario, if you're flying properly and they can't shut this down, Cavil's always sitting on 2 focus, and he's shooting pretty high up in the hierarchy of shots. And when you combo them, which we know what twin laser turret does, when you combo this with the R4 aggro mech, it gets really nasty. R4 aggro mech reads, when attacking after you spend a focus token, you may acquire a target lock on the defender. So ideally, on the first shot from twin laser turret, if you roll 4 hits, you just spin the target lock, or the focus anyway, to get a free target lock. On the second shot, you now have a target lock that you can spend, and you're still sitting on 1 focus, which if you spin the target lock to re-roll blanks and, you know, to re-roll your blanks, and you roll into hits or more focus, you can spend a focus to change those focus results to hits and get your target lock back. No matter how you slice it, if you're forced to spend a focus, you get a free target lock, and you're making 2 shots, so you have focus and target locks galore. This is a silly combo, and whatever Cavil's shooting at with this, he's generally gonna hit. And if he doesn't hit it, he's gonna force them to start spending tokens and stuff. It is incredibly brutal and really effective. The problem with it is it makes Cavil target priority number 1, and as he should be. But with this synergizing list, until any piece goes down, the weak link in terms of death is probably Kato. He's easy to take out. If he goes down, that's okay, as long as Cavil and Palab are still alive. But in terms of target priority, do you shoot Cavil because he's the sniper in the background, or do you shoot Torquil because he lowers your ace to pilot skill 0 that lets Cavil do his work on him? You know, or do you ignore Torquil because you're not worried about the ace, and do you go for Cavil, or do you go for Palab because Palab's getting up, you know, within mid-range to steal your focus or your evades and benefiting himself and potentially chaining it to Cavil and Kato? This list is really good. It's really synergetic. It could be picked apart, but it makes your opponent make choices, and if you fly well, it's really effective. So with that being said, what do you guys think? Are there some alterations you would make to the list? Would you maybe drop Torquil to bring in, you know, maybe something else, or, you know, drop the, let's see, if you drop Torquil, that's going to save 23 points. You could drop Torquil and Zuckuss and bring in 2 Z95s, which I've tried. I like a 5-ship list, but I feel like Torquil brings some good synergy to the table, and he gives you some more range 1 benefits. But having those Z95s gives you some nice blockers. So what do you think? Let's get discussion going. I'd like to get some feedback. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Help me grow the channel. And as always, happy wargaming, and I hope you try out this build.